Hey guys, today on the show I have Jay Sofer from Lockbusters in New York City. He has 415 reviews on Yelp, and that's really how he generates the majority of his business, that and referrals. So I figured we'd pick his brain and see what he has to share with us. Without further ado, let's jump into the interview.
Honestly, it's my favorite story to tell. I mean, most of it happened by accident. I was in college for sign language, actually. Going into my third year and also studying privately at another school, and I was definitely in line to making a career out of that somehow, however I could market myself. And I was pretty much just keeping the lights on with this locksmith thing. Never anything I really thought of other than sort of supplemental income, really, to help me keep the lights on. I mean, I was, doing odd jobs for the school and, bartending, bar backing, things like that when I could. So, I had learned locksmithing, so I definitely qualified as a professional, but nothing I ever marketed as far as like a small business. I mean, I was doing freelance work for other companies, and other companies I knew that were good, mom and pop shops. But these mom and pop shops were, now reverse engineering everything and looking, and the 2020 hindsight, I saw that they were kind of on their last leg and that they weren't going to survive something like a major crisis that incidentally happened in the economy, starting about late 2007 and then early 2008. I think people really started to feel the effects of it. My effects really came around that time, although 2007 was kind of a precursor, at least from where I sort of felt that the coming of the storm. So everything happened pretty rapidly, actually. Within about 3 months, all the clients I had, the people that would hire me, they went out of business. There were seeds were sown for that too. I think a lot of these owners just knew that, hey, if bleep hits the fan, then they're out of there.
Sure.
And, and they had enough, we call in the business some, FU money that they didn't have to bother weathering another storm. So they left and they closed up shop, and, no offense taken, other than I couldn't afford to go to school anymore. And I couldn't afford to pay my rent either. So within 3 months, I was back home living with my mom, with student debt and unemployed. So, that's not the best place you want to be, the wrong side of your 20s. So, yeah. At that point, the biggest concern was that I'll probably never get a date again for the rest of my life, There was still no ambition there to start a business. So, it was more like necessity was the mother of invention at that point. I had to just work honestly so I can have the dignity of buying my own groceries instead of living off my mom, who was waking up, by the way, at 5 a.m. or out the door actually at 5 a.m. because she had a nursing job in Bellevue at the time for Bellevue Psych.
Yep.
So it's like, there's my, little mom, and, she's in her 60s and she's going to work at 5 a.m. and I'm a bum. So I was like, there's no way I'm not going to do something. So if you wanted to ask about motivation, it was just so I won't be pathetic. That's pretty much it, So there was the impetus to a lot right there. So,
awesome.
But, so I did it all like kind of the old-fashioned way. Like, I hit the streets and told people, and that doesn't really mean much, I mean, there's a lot that you can amplify your voice in a much bigger way, online. I had some friends that gave me basic direction, like put an ad out on Craigslist. You'll be able to reach a lot more people than just going and shaking hands at, some bakery,
yep.
In your old neighborhood. And the Craigslist ad, generated a little bit. I mean, certainly wasn't a platform that you could really thrive on. And it wasn't until I came across Yelp that that's when whatever idea that really wasn't fully formed in my head, as soon as that got onto Yelp, it sort of, there was rocket fuel put behind it. And I was able to reach a much larger audience than I ever really anticipated. So my course correction has literally been since I got on Yelp. I've just been on.
When was that? Approximately when did you start on Yelp?
I'd say about the end of 2009, maybe beginning of 2010. I quickly became an advertiser. It was like I saw how effective it was right away. I saw how eager people were to give me feedback, particularly positive feedback. In fact, I didn't get my first negative review until I had 99 5-star reviews.
Nice.
And my 100th review, I couldn't wait to hit 100. No, I'm sorry, it's 99. I think it was 94, and I couldn't wait to get to 100 with a perfect rating. And number 95 or 96 was a 1-star review, and I'm like, oh, you gotta be effing kidding me. You know what I mean? So it's like, I mean, incidentally, I was able to correct that. I mean, I reached out to the client, made the wrongs right, and they took down, the review. So they didn't change it to a positive one, but at least they took it down, and I did manage to make it to my 100 without a blemish. So that was that. And incidentally, my 100th review is a good story too that I like to share, because that also came off of a customer complaint. So yeah, we could get into that. I know I'm getting into the weeds here, but you asked me initially about the first push out. So I didn't really know what to expect from Yelp. I didn't have any. I've never been on it. I didn't even understand the platform, to be quite honest with you. I mean, at that time I was so broke. I used a Go phone from AT&T that I bought at Kmart, and I would fill it up $10 at a time, and that was Lockbuster's business line right there.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about how you generate the reviews. So do you do anything special in terms of wow service for the clients that you're able to motivate them to hop onto Yelp and give you the reviews? I mean, you're 415 in. There must be some magic in that.
Yeah, so the secret sauce usually surprises people, man, So there's two parts, to this answer. One, I really do have a competitive advantage in my industry. I take care of a lot of the clients, and a lot of the intake does go through me, right? Now with high volume, it's amazing. There's a lot to keep up with. I certainly need help. But in the beginning, the competitive advantage I had was that I was really handling everything. So it didn't have to funnel through a lot of hands, particularly a lot of greedy hands. So like in this industry, the call center that you call into when you click on a Google ad, they take a cut. And then it goes through another guy who takes a cut. And then until the guy shows up at your door, he may be number 5 in line, so they are charging so much because they have to cut this pie about 5 different directions. And me, I was just like, I need to get another jar of peanut butter. Okay. So, so I am so happy that you called. I can't believe this Go phone is ringing. I thank you so much. How did you find me? Yelp. Oh man, that's awesome. Why don't you tell me a little bit about Yelp? So there was my initial competitive advantage. And then, because the service is not, unique. If you there's 1,000 competitors, online. And I think the reason people do hire me is because, after all, I am someone coming to your house. You know what I mean? And, Yelp is a great way to vet the person that's coming to your house and giving you keys to your house, So it's one of those things. So when there are favorable reviews that are actually speaking to my character and speaking highly about me on a personal level, I think you sort of take away this transactionable, anonymous threat looming of a rip-off artist or a shady guy coming to your house, like all these things. And now you sort of get to pre-vet this, real person, I'm gonna, and here's my story, and here's my page, and I get the endorsement that legitimizes my entire business practice online. And even when there were just about 4 or 5 reviews, people were already feeling very comfortable about it and telling me that. So, the initial competitive advantage was that I was taking care of everyone. And then the competitive advantage that I have no problem, shouting out and being completely unambiguous about is that I like people.
That's a competitive advantage right there.
The competitive advantage, man. I mean, I think with all the marketing and with all that, there's people really lose that spark. It's that, you can, the more and more you market, the more and more you sort of push the person into becoming a client, into becoming a statistic. And, ultimately it's going to be one person dealing with another person. So I think that the future in a lot of businesses, especially with this review-based market, where people get to really talk about their personal experience, I think that the people that can really take advantage of that personal, touch, I think that's going to influence hiring in the future. I think that bedside manner in every customer service field is just going to get better, because now that people see that there's this massive economic incentive to hire people who are actually nice and that are not socially inept and that actually can carry a conversation. And I can't wait for that to happen in the medical field, to be honest with you, because I see most doctors they look at you like you're basically just a piece of meat with a cold or something. You know what I mean? And so I feel like, and it's already started. I think that One Medical and a lot of these urgent care places are marketing themselves as like we're actually human beings that give a damn about whether you live or die, that kind of thing. So, I see the market changing. I see it's because it's review based now. I love the fact that I'm accountable for everything. I love the fact that I'm accountable for how people are received on the phone, how I show up and present myself, how I do the job, how I clean up after myself. I'm like embracing all these things that people are deathly afraid of when they get online.
So when you go to a job site, walk me through the process, because you must have a process, because 450 people reviewing you in New York City, I'm somewhat saying it's remarkable from the perspective of that's a ton of reviews. Somebody who's seen a lot of businesses, most businesses don't get that, certainly not a local business like yourself. What started out as a one-man show trying to get peanut butter has created, this snowball effect. So when you get to the job site, is there an expectation set that you're going to go above and beyond? And then do you have a process to ask them to go to Yelp?
So I think that's a great question. I'll actually start from the last part and work my way backwards, right?
Sure.
So if you're putting on a dog and pony show and at the end you ask somebody for a review, then you just basically showed this person that you had this implied goal of putting on this show from day one. You just wanted to get, from minute one, you wanted to get a response from them. So then all that just becomes another transactionable experience, Yep. I never ask for reviews. It's so bad. It's one of the worst things you could do. It's so cheesy. I've often said cheesy because I can't think of anything worse to say about it, because it really does look, it looks artificial. That's probably what
Sure.
the right definition for it's the right word to describe that. It's artificial. So, I'm not artificial. I could really stand by that. Just me as a person. I don't, I'm there to genuinely help you. And, and I'm the income side of it, right? I feel like that's something that is just going to come from doing a good job, So if I take care of you, you might recommend me to a friend. You have a good experience. I may get you out of a bad one. Not everyone calls a locksmith for the best of reasons. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Some are very G-rated, like people moving into their, buying their first home and expecting, or somebody moving into the city for the first time. And, another times it's 3 a.m. and you're, blind drunk in a blanket. You know what I mean? So like, that's another way to call a locksmith. So, either way, I'm going to help you. You know what I mean? And like, I'm going to be genuine about it. I'm going to care about it. I'm going to, clean up after myself because I don't want to leave crap on your floor. So these are things that, I almost like I'm a guest in your house that you wouldn't mind inviting back. So, and honestly, I do like to speak with people. I'm not some guy who's pushy in the conversation. Like if somebody opens, sometimes they open up the door for me and then go right back to their work. Sure. I'm not going to start talking to them. So I think I think it's the understanding, what conversational etiquette, is, you know what I mean? It's
Sure.
just like, and often clients talk to me because they want to know about my business. They want to know about the charity work I do with animals. They want to know about all, what I've, how I presented myself online. And often we talk about the vehicle that brought them to me, that brought us together, which is Yelp. I use the platform. I found some really cool stuff on it when I travel. Mm-hmm. So, I use it. So I get to share these fun experiences with them. And we really get to share it about this particular platform.
So do you think the people that are finding you via Yelp are more likely to review you on Yelp because they're users of the platform themselves? So that's the vehicle that had them find you, so it's higher likelihood that they would be reviewing you because of that's the way they found you?
Absolutely, yeah. And, I think they completely understand the impact of what a good review can do, And, if you're there and you have a good, rapport with the client, able to, maybe share some experiences, not only just keeping Yelp in the conversation, organically. That's the main takeaway. Is like, can you have a real conversation, like, person to person? After all, I'm there sometimes calming people down in a difficult situation, whether they've, kicked out a bad roommate or, all kinds of stuff, and, often they talk to me to just come down, from a stressful moment, or honestly, it's just that, hey, they just moved into the craziest city in America, help me navigate through it. Are you from here? Yes. Really? Oh my God.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there's a lot of unique things that happen in the city. And I think generally people are very enthusiastic about being here, especially people that move in for the first time. I'm often the first face they see there that they're having like a meaningful transaction with, I just moved into my first place in New York and I'm changing my locks for the first time. I'm an adult for the first time. And oh man, the locksmith was so cool. And it's just something that they pin up in their memory. You know what I mean? And that's what they get to talk about. And the writing, I feel that Yelp offers such a cool platform for people that really like to express themselves in, writing, to go ahead and do that. I mean, there's some hilarious reviews,
I've scrolled through quite a few of them. There definitely are. So would you say that in terms of Yelp, that's one avenue? Do you get referrals, just plain referrals? So somebody has this great experience, somebody else is either moving in, somebody else is looking for a locksmith. Are you getting a lot of referral business from that as well?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're talking in the high 90s of, how business comes in through Yelp and how it continues to come in through referrals from old Yelpers. I mean, a lot of my commercial clients were initially residential clients who called. They were locked out or needed a lock change or a deadbolt installed, and they recommended me to their office or to their management company. Yeah, so a lot of my corporate clients have actually been referrals. Like one time we did work for a person who manages like a franchise in the city. They manage an art supply store. So now we work for 4 of their locations.
Awesome.
Because we did a good job for one person. So, I mean, really cool. It's it's and it's like real organic word of mouth, and I think it's very different than it was prior to social media and this review-based market. Like I love it. I love that word of mouth now can be amplified to this level. I mean, it's grown my business from. I mean, I'm still a guy running around in a car, but I was a much broker guy with limited vision, riding around in a much crappier car, a decade ago.
Yeah. Let's close the story loop. You still living with mom or no?
Oh man, I wish. Are you kidding me? Those are the best times of my life. There's laundry. That stove was always on. Oh my God, it was the best.
Awesome.
Nothing beats that. No, sadly, I'm not. Yeah.
So let's switch it. Just I'm curious. So if you were setting up a new service or local business today, what would be your approach or what would be your recommendation? So let's say somebody is getting into a local-based business, service-based business. What would be some experience or some wisdom you would impart on them in terms of really developing this type of attitude that's going to serve them over time?
Yeah, I mean, so, depending on the type of service that you're in, I mean, you really need some good team coaching right there. If you're going to put yourself out there online, structure it 2 ways. This is the customer service experience that we want to have. If we put ourselves in the client's shoes, this is the customer service that we are going to try to communicate here and what we're going to try to structure. And that's looking on like the positive side, and then sort of prepare your damage control protocol. So what if X, Y, and Z does happen? Because we dropped the ball, So what's our damage control protocol? So I have one, and I kind of had to figure it out along the way. A big part of it was sort of this like knee-jerk reaction, like, oh my God, I forgot someone. I showed up late. The parts are defective. I screwed up on the job. Something happened. You know what I mean? There's a complaint. hey man, I'm sorry, let me correct it. Why don't I upgrade your lock, what you initially ordered, to something a little bit better? And that's on me. Sorry about that. Okay, we dropped the ball. We forgot you. No problem. Take X amount of percentage off when we do show up. And also let me know when's convenient for you to show up. Is it after hours? Is it this? No problem. I'll show up and take care of it. So it's like, you know, like for me, I can offer discounts, I can offer upgrades, and that's proven to be really good. You know, like I've put out lots of fires that way. And yeah, I mean, because, hey man, stuff happens and it's a consequence of being busy. And, you know, for a customer, I think when you come across just as sincere as you would when you're doing a good job from start to finish, like, hey man, I screwed up. I'm not going to blame traffic or the universe or anything. We flat out screwed up. And because we screwed up and we wasted your time, you know, let me go ahead and let me give you this. Are you happy with this? Okay, awesome. And then when can I help you? And then it's just, I mean, you know, you treat people like, it's like the golden rule kind of thing. And it's kind of funny to communicate because, you know, a lot of people are really into this like massive marketing. It's like, no, man, hire people that can talk to people. That's it. You know, I mean, that's just it. So like to completely answer your question, have a damage control protocol. Know the kind of service that you want to provide from the client's perspective, you know, like walk them, you know, visualize that, structure that from A to Z. And this is your best opportunity to be reviewed. You know, ultimately it's in their hands whether they want to review you or not. But, you know, it's, there isn't that supernatural a formula. You know, if people have a good time and they're around people that gave them, you know, genuine care, I do believe that the large majority of the time, you know, you will get rewarded with the 5-star review. People really want to communicate that.
Awesome. Well, Jay, I really appreciate you taking the time for joining us today. Thanks a lot for taking a break, coming into the car for us, and hopping on Skype. I know it was a bit of a ordeal to get you on here, but I really appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, man, we did it. Rock on. Yeah, I like what you're doing, man. Keep up the good work.
Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.
Talk to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.